Stories Philippines Podcast.
A shadow always seems to linger over the mountains, burrowing deeper than any gold vein and stretching farther than the eye can see. It seeps into the cracks of the earth, infusing the whispering wind with tales of warnings too often ignored. What is it that draws men to the edge of danger? Is it the promise of riches, the echo of ancient prophecies, or the lure of something far older and much darker, hiding just beneath the ground? If you listen, truly listen, you will hear more than the rumble of mining machinery. You may hear the moans of restless spirits, the quiet threats of old ghosts, and perhaps, if you stay long enough, a coldness that is not entirely earthly. Tonight's narrative is woven with unease and dread. Some stories will likely disturb you at your core. Your safety is precious, so consider this. The following episode drifts through unsettling terrain, exploring deeply distressing scenes and themes. A darkness permeates this episode, touching on scenes and themes some may find deeply unsettling. Listener caution is strongly urged. I am Jessica, and you are listening to Stories Philippines, podcast premiere episode of Season 4, The Gold and the Grave, The Mine Landslide and Spirits of Greed. Near dawn, in early October of the year 2005, Compostela Valley's Mount Diwata once shimmered in the young sun. Yet beneath that beauty lay decades of scars, carved by families and strangers all searching for gold. Earlier generations had regarded the mountain with fearful reverence, whispers passing from elder to child. Do not walk too far from the narrow path. The Añito watch all who desecrate the earth. Añito in native tradition were the earth spirits, guardians, punishers, watchers. As miners pushed deeper and deeper, the forest thinned and the gold veins grew thinner, replaced by the capable hands of small-scale miners, desperate and hungry. It was a time when the promise of gold seduced the soul. A surge of migration swept into Compostela Valley, thousands chasing fever dreams of fortune. By the mid-1980s, the region had transformed. Small-scale mining, often unregulated and reckless, triggered geologic vulnerabilities. The soil wept, and the waterways became tainted with runoff. Local officials, even those sympathetic to tradition, watched in horror as landslides and floods became routine. In those years, the names of the dead blended with those lost to time. Still, the faint hope of striking gold suffused every sunrise. On the night of October 26, 2005, some 50 miners labored inside the gold tunnels operated by JB Management and Mining Corporation on Mount Diwata. No one anticipated the disaster that would soon make the headlines. At approximately 10:20 in the evening, an explosion tore through the oxygen-poor tunnel, first rumored to be caused by dynamite, but later believed a compressor supplying air and ventilation had detonated. The darkness, already thick, suddenly became suffocating. As the tunnel collapsed, screams echoed and the ground shook. Some miners made it out alive, coughing ashen dust and haunted by what they had seen. At least 18 bodies were retrieved in the following days, and dozens more were never found. swallowed by the mountain that many believed had finally enacted its curse. Rescue efforts faltered. Local villagers and police were barred from entering the mine, forced to watch as company vehicles ferried bodies out. "This is no longer a rescue," the chief of the village said. "It is a retrieval. The mountain has claimed them." Families mourned outside, but not all could believe that the mountain's hunger was accidental. Grief fermented into story and superstition. When a soul dies in pursuit of gold, its body often cannot be reclaimed. The Anito, earth spirits, were said to drag the greedy into the deepest veins, punishing those who violated sacred ground. Some villagers whispered, "If you listen at night, you can hear voices beneath the stone, not of miners but of spirits." What compels a community to risk so much? Perhaps desperation, perhaps ambition, or perhaps the irresistible tug of a story older than memory. Mining in Compostela Valley has always carried risk, not just of collapse or explosion, but of igniting ancient forces. For local Manobo tribes, gold was never simply wealth. It was part of the earth, a physical echo of the spirits. Folklore recounts the Anito's jealousy, their cold rage whenever the earth is drilled for treasure. Rituals were once performed to ask permission from the spirits before major excavation. Offerings of food, wine, and, at times, gold ornaments would be placed underneath ancient trees or near the tunnel entrances. La Manglupa were invoked, not merely with fear, but with awe. International stories of mining disasters are similarly marked by tragedy and superstition. In Wales, China, and Peru, mining deaths have conjured legends of vengeful ghosts and cursed stones. Yet in the Philippines, the narrative is visceral and immediate. Bodies lost in mining disasters are not just missing, they are said to be claimed by the mountain. This belief resounds especially after major landslides. Survivors described seeing faint apparitions, shadows flitting between collapsed beams. One rescuer, a local named Arvin, recalled feeling a chill that did not leave him for weeks after pulling a body from the rubble. "Maybe that spirit did not want to leave," he confided. "Maybe it was waiting for someone to join it." Empirical study struggles to explain the persistence of such beliefs. The sheer terror of being buried alive, the collective shock of losing dozens of neighbors and family members in a single night. These are traumas that the mind struggles to process through ordinary logic. It is easier, perhaps, to believe in a vengeful spirit than in the random, indifferent cruelty of nature aided by human error. This need to find meaning in chaos fuels the tales of the Anito, offering a structure to overwhelming grief. If the disaster was a punishment, then it was a just one. And justice, even dark justice, is a form of order. The mountain itself, Mount Dewata, is a character in this tragedy. Rising above the tree lines and often shrouded in mist, the mountain nourishes rich flora but also harbors dangerous ravines and unstable slopes. The soil is streaked with quartz and gold, and hidden streams run below, releasing pungent, metallic scents after rain. The wind tastes bitter where gold dust is thickest, and the deeper you descend into its tunnels, the colder the air becomes. Sounds carry differently. A miner's voice echoes in a way that seems doubled, as if answered by something unseen. The quest for gold has its own long, grim history that stretches far beyond these shores. From the South African diamond mines where forced labor was the norm, to the gold rushes of California and Australia, where indigenous lands were violated and fortunes were built on desperation, the pattern is tragically familiar. In every era and in every locale, the precious metal has acted as a spiritual poison, stripping away moral concern and replacing it with pure, consuming avarice. In the Philippines, the Spanish Empire was fueled by this thirst. establishing exploitative mining practices centuries ago, digging the first scars into the earth, and setting a precedent for environmental and human sacrifice. When people are told that wealth is available just beneath their feet, the rational mind often retreats, replaced by a feverish, tunnel-visioned ambition. A few years after the tragedy, rescue operations revealed unsettling evidence. Unusual cold spots were detected within the tunnels long after weather patterns could explain them. Cameras sometimes recorded unexplained lights, shapeless clouds moving against the current. Paranormal investigators filed cautious reports of auditory phenomena. In short, voices calling for help from impossible places. Were these echoes of surviving miners, or something heavier lingering in the depths? These cold spots and strange lights are often explained scientifically as residual energy or geological quirks, but for the local communities, they are clear signs that the dead are still trapped, or perhaps worse, that they are not trapped at all, but are actively guarding what the mountain has claimed. The stories our listeners sent only deepened the mystery. From a vast repository of tales, the mining disaster inspired a fresh wave of chilling submissions, accounts that folded personal grief into older local traditions and left many readers unsettled. One listener, signing their message Xander, wrote of a Compostela mining camp just weeks after the collapse. He said he was sleeping in a tent near the tunnel entrance when he woke at 2 a.m. to a strange, persistent tapping echoing from deep underground. At first, he thought it was a trapped survivor. He roused other miners and they followed the sound into the dark, but the noise always seemed to move farther away, as if whatever made it was retreating deeper into the earth. The tunnel was too unstable to pursue, so they waited at the mouth. That's when Xander saw it. A pale, gaunt figure, hardly human, gliding slowly toward the collapsed shaft. It stopped, raised a thin, elongated hand, and pointed straight at him. Its face was blank, or maybe it was just the dark. Then the thing simply faded into the night. Xander said he quit the mine the next day and couldn't shake a sense that something had singled him out. Another listener, Gail, recounted how her mining family began to notice strange electrical disturbances in the weeks after the disaster. Lights would flare and die with no cause. Radios would crackle to life and spit out static mixed with indistinct voices, and compass needles jittered as if pushed by a hidden force. Gail's best friend had worked in the collapsed shaft. He used to joke about the old gods of the mountain when they shared stories over a bottle. But after the accident, Gail stopped laughing. She believes the jokes masked something older and angrier. "There are things under the soil that do not want us there," she wrote, and her conviction carried the weary tone of someone who had seen too much sorrow.
These are not isolated anecdotes. Moderators collected and cross-checked dozens of listener-submitted reports that link the mining disasters to a cluster of unsettling phenomena. Apparitions glimpsed at tunnel mouths, phantom tapping and the sound of footsteps in abandoned galleries, unexplained illness among families who lived closest to the shafts, recurring nightmares that mimic the final moments underground, and household electronics behaving as if keyed to an uncommon frequency. In several accounts, multiple family members reported the same dream, a descent into a narrowing tunnel, breath thinning, then an invisible hand brushing their shoulder. In others, elderly residents told of pre-existing mountain lore, stories of guardians or claimants who would not tolerate miners who took more than the land would give, now reframed by grief into modern hauntings. What emerges from the collection is a pattern where trauma and folklore intertwine. The disaster's suddenness left a cultural wound, unanswered questions about the dead, the abrupt dismantling of livelihoods, and the rupture of social networks. Into that space, stories proliferate,
Grief seeks explanation. Communal memory creates metaphors. Ghost stories become a mechanism for naming and containing loss, for articulating blame when investigations are incomplete, and for giving shape to fears too large for single families to carry alone. The reports also suggest a kind of social contagion. Once a haunting narrative takes hold, more people report similar experiences, perhaps because they are primed to notice anomalies they previously disregarded, perhaps because collective sorrow amplifies ordinary phenomena into something uncanny. In one mining town, an elderly woman described how, after hearing about a ghostly procession seen near the shaft, she began to hear disembodied singing outside her home at dusk. At first, she assumed it was a trick of imagination. Then, neighbors admitted to hearing the same thing. Whether the sound was wind through pylons, animals at play, or something else entirely, the shared attribution gave it a new communal meaning. Some submissions edge into the symbolic. In several letters, miners described being pointed at by spirits, or seeing figures that mimicked those who had died in the collapse. To those writers, the apparitions were accusatory, as if the mountain itself insisted on remembering the price paid. Others suggested the disturbances were warnings, reminders to respect boundaries, to honor the dead with rites that had been ignored in the rush for profit. A few listeners relayed accounts of subtle reconciliations, dreams in which the restless figure was offered a small token of apology, after which the household's disturbances quieted. Those stories read like attempts, through ritual, confession, or ceremony, to restore balance.
Not all responses were strictly supernatural. Several contributors reported psychological and health impacts consistent with prolonged stress and collective trauma. Insomnia, panic attacks, depression, and an uptick in psychosomatic complaints among family members. Medical professionals in the area described increased clinic visits for anxiety and sleep disorders following the disaster. Those facts complicate the narrative. Some experiences may spring from neurological and emotional reactions to grief, while others remain unexplained by current understanding. What binds these accounts is an unmistakable human urgency. Behind the tales of flickering radios and pale figures are bereaved families seeking witness and validation. The stories function as community testimony, a patchwork record that voices grief, preserves memory, and demands recognition. Whether the phenomena are supernatural, psychological, or a blend of both, the effect is the same: a shared haunting in which the mountain, the mine, and the losses are woven together into a continuing story the community tells itself. As listeners keep sending messages, the archive grows richer and more complex. Some submissions are terse and raw. 2 lines about a dream, a single detail that chills. And others are long, almost elegiac retellings that layer personal history with local belief. Taken together, they form a map of sorrow and suspicion, a cultural response that will shape how the disaster is remembered. For many, the line between folklore and evidence has dissolved. The mountain's past and the miner's present have merged into a persistent, communal narrative that refuses to be forgotten. From journalistic footage of landslides and body retrievals, the struggle for gold remains heartbreakingly visible. In interviews with survivors, people often speak of a sense of being watched and judged by the mountain. One grieving father, Abbot Tolentino, searching for his missing daughter amid the ruins, confesses, "My whole family is gone. This cursed mountain has shown how much our dreams can cost." An eerie parallel emerges: the quest for gold, the price paid in flesh, and the earth's taking of what is owed. This echoes a primal belief found across many ancient cultures: a deep respect for the earth as a living, breathing entity that demands sacrifice when its treasures are taken without reverence. The Christian tradition, too, is not silent on this matter. Many priests view the insatiable quest for quick wealth as a form of idolatry, a violation of spiritual law that naturally invites disaster. When the Church speaks of the wages of sin, The consequences of greed are often illustrated by the failure and collapse of earthly ambitions. Further tales swirl around golden discoveries and their consequences. Some claim that those who find impressive veins too easily are marked by misfortune, illness, financial collapse, or even madness. Superstitions have shaped mining practices, with some camps refusing to work on certain days perceived as unlucky, while others continue digging, driven by hope or by the hum of gold fever. This fear of easy gold is rooted in the deep-seated belief that anything of immense value taken without hard, honest labor must have a dark price attached, suggesting a spiritual contract that requires repayment. In modern years, Compostela Valley's mining landscapes periodically rumble with renewed tragedy. Unregulated small-scale mining remains rampant, making landslides and tunnel collapses almost expected phenomena. Companies and local governments attempt regulations, but fortune seekers press on. And still, at the intersection of greed, desperation, and folklore, the legend of the Anito and their curse endures. The cycle is self-perpetuating, driven by a deep economic despair where the only perceived path out of poverty is through the dangerous embrace of the Earth's hidden wealth. The Anito are not unique. Spirits protecting the Earth appear in countless cultures, from the dwarves who guard gold in Norse mythology to the ancient Greek notion of the earth god Plutus, who held the wealth of the underworld. The idea of a spiritual guardian for buried treasure is a human constant. But in these Philippine mountains, their stories are more personally felt. A customary pasintabi sa nuno, or respectful plea to the earth's elders, is uttered before each dig, even if only whispered by a single, fearful worker. Tabi po, they say. Allow us to pass. Yet the disasters of recent decades suggest these ancient rituals are no longer enough, particularly as greed pushes human limits and the scale of extraction becomes monstrous. To this day, our channel remains a powerful outlet for stories of mining tragedies and their spectral aftermath. Recent submissions describe dreams of drowning in gold, waking moments later smothered and unable to breathe. Others tell of children who, after losing a parent in a mine collapse, begin seeing shadowy figures at the edge of their vision. Whether anecdote or fiction, these accounts weave a cautionary tapestry. When the earth is violated, it does not easily forget. These responses are also the mind's way of processing loss, transforming the trauma of the deceased into experiences of the living. The sensation of being smothered in a dream, for instance, is a classic expression of anxiety and helplessness, overlaid with the terrifying specifics of a mining disaster. Investigators, psychologists, spiritual leaders, and cultural historians each dissect the layers of these beliefs. Scientists point to the sheer physics of the collapse, the unpredictable nature of soil weakened by water and excessive tunneling, and the explosive properties of volatile gases trapped deep within the earth. Psychologists see the formation of ghost stories as a healthy, albeit morbid way to process collective trauma, providing a narrative framework for senseless death. Yet for many miners and their families, explanation is less important than survival. The rituals, the stories, and the warnings now form a secondary shield, protecting only those who choose to listen, urging caution where regulation fails. This deep-seated belief in the mountain's agency is a cultural defense mechanism, a spiritual law enforced by fear. Consider the contrast. The modern profit-driven mining company seeks only to maximize extraction, viewing the earth as an inert resource. The traditional Manobo view the mountain as a living spirit, a provider, but also a punisher. When the two views clash, the result is inevitably tragedy. The spirit, the Anito, is said to be angered not just by the taking of gold, but by the utter disrespect shown to the soil, the water, and the forest. A perfect mirror for the environmental destruction that accompanies unregulated mining. In the end, the curse of the gold is not a magical spell. but the very real and devastating consequences of human selfishness and ecological disregard. At the close of this journey into the gold in the grave, one must ask, what lessons do we take from tragedy and myth? Is it only the loss of life? Or is there something more? Some ancient bargain unsettled, some spirit unsatisfied? Is greed alone to blame? Or do we all play a part in disturbing a dangerous balance, ignoring the whispers until the rumbling starts? If you are willing, submit your own story to our email, storiesphpodcast@gmail.com. Find show notes and support options in the description. Access exclusive content on Patreon. Follow us on social media for daily folklore facts. Lingering behind every tale of the Compostela landslide is one last unsettling question. If the mountain claims the greedy, who decides what is enough? As the old saying goes, gold glitters brightest when the candles of life burn the faintest. Will you listen for the voices beneath the stone? Or will you turn away and move on? Perhaps, in the end, every fortune dug from the ground comes with its own grave and its own ghost. Thank you for journeying through the shadows with me on Stories Philippines podcast. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast. Support the podcast financially in ways you can find in the show notes. Goodbye for now, and I thank each and every listener for being here tonight. What darkness do you carry home with you? One of gold? Or one of regret?